What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Just Cuz TV channel. Brand new show coming at you this evening. We got Off the Top Rope, and you recognize that guy right here below me. It is Cousin Steve dropping the elbow. What is going on, man?
Hey, what is up, cousin Anthony? I'm here. We're here to talk some WWE, some one of our lifelong passions.
Yeah,
We're
been
here
fans
to.
what for 25 years now, Steve. I feel like
Oh
so.
yeah, we were. I remember going to wrestling shows when we were like 6 years old with my mom and your uncle,
Yeah,
and your dad, my uncle.
yeah. It was like in your house back then and all that good
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
So we thought, what better way to bring this 25-year passion than to another episode here on the Just Cuz TV channel, Elimination Chamber. Steve, one of honestly my favorite pay-per-views of the year, up there with Royal Rumble and Money in the Bank. Me personally, is this one of your favorites, Steve?
yeah. I think it's a solid gimmick. The one thing I wish they would do is maybe not use it every year, because they would always bust it out maybe like every year and a half or every 2 years, and that made it feel more impactful for just like the carnage and the type of match that it is. But the match type is always fun.
It is fun. I love this type of matchup. It's up there with like the ladder matches and whatnot back in the day.
Yeah.
But we've got Elimination Chamber, and I was thinking, what better way to lead off Elimination Chamber 2021 than with the WWE Championship Elimination Chamber match? We've got Drew McIntyre, the current WWE Champion. He's going up against AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Sheamus, and Kofi Kingston, the new entrant who actually beat The Miz on Raw this past week to take the 6th spot. So, Cousin Steve, break this one down for me, man. What's going to happen?
Yeah. So Kofi Kingston get in the match. The Miz came out and said, "Hey, I got Money in the Bank. I don't need this match. There's no reason for me to be in it." And that, I think, storyline wise, that makes sense. Like the Money in the Bank guy, like, why is he around the WWE picture? He's already there. He can already jump in anytime he wants to be. So why do it like that? It gives it a weird balance of face and heels. I think AJ Styles is technically heel right now, but he's kind of a tweener. Like, so many people are going to like AJ Styles. So basically gives you a kind of a 4-2 split here. So you would mathematically expect a face to walk away, which I think is what happens. Honestly, I think you have guys in here like Jeff Hardy and even Kofi Kingston to an extent to take the first elimination. If I absolutely had to guess, I think Jeff Hardy's the first guy out. He's just Jeff Hardy's always been around the main event. He's definitely a former WWE champion, so you always think he could win it. But at this point, with everyone that's in this match, especially with Sheamus coming out last, now that he won that gauntlet match on Raw, I think Jeff Hardy is the one that gets eliminated first.
I think he's a great fit here. We know his track record, right? With these kinds of high profile, high carnage matchups. He's a good fit here. Not realistic. I totally agree with you, Steve, to have any sort of chance of winning this. Especially, the issue with Elimination Chamber matches, and I don't know if you agree with me, Steve, is like they're so close to WrestleMania that a WWE Championship switch this close to WrestleMania has to be like huge, right? So Jeff Hardy wouldn't fit the bill for that, I would think.
It's got to make sense, right? Yeah. Like the Bray Wyatt swap, I think it was at 3, maybe 4 years ago, at the Elimination Chamber. That made sense, right? Because they went on with a thing with Randy Orton. They were in a tag team with the Wyatt family and everything. So that storyline made sense. This storyline with a switch at all doesn't make sense, because you also have to think about the Royal Rumble winner. It's Edge. Is Edge going to come out and challenge Drew McIntyre? I don't think that happens. I think we'll get into it later in the show. I think he challenges someone else. So with that being said, like I said, I don't think there's a switch here. I think Drew McIntyre is your Vince McMahon prototypical guy going into WrestleMania, and I think they want to keep it that way. I don't know where they go with the WWE Championship storyline at that point. Maybe they stick with the whole McIntyre Sheamus. Sheamus has been a proven guy for a while now. He's won the WWE Championship in 13 seconds at WrestleMania before.
Boo.
Sad heartbreak. Sorry, Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, I'm a Daniel Bryan fan, so yeah.
Yeah, that was at that point I didn't like Daniel Bryan, so I was just like, yeah, F you, Daniel Bryan.
And then
But
Sheamus came out like, was it the Raw the next day with a 13-second shirt on or whatever? It just tilted me
right.
to high heaven. Or it was
Hashtag,
SmackDown, I guess, back then.
hashtag tilted.
Yeah. So Steve,
Yeah.
then with Sheamus coming in last, do you think that it comes down to Drew McIntyre and Sheamus in the final two in this matchup? Then
I think it could. Yeah, I think that's the most likely thing, and I think they could use that storyline to continue moving forward. Where Sheamus is like, "Oh, I almost had you," or something funny or some shenanigans, go down where maybe his foot's on the rope and the ref didn't see it, or his shoulders weren't really down, or he thought the ref counted fast. WWE could pull a number of things for this storyline to keep going.
yep, something to keep Sheamus as the complainy, whiny, but still number one contender. Essentially, there was some sketchiness going on with maybe a Drew McIntyre win here.
Right. Yeah, I think they want to keep him strong because if he gets pinned clean, like what's his argument?
Yeah, like why would he challenge then Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania then if we just go ahead and get the clean pin out of the way on Sheamus?
Right. Unless he loses and then just keeps beating the crap out of Drew McIntyre and then that just pisses him off, and then they fight at WrestleMania. That could still be a thing too.
Right.
There's a lot of different ways you could go with it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's touch on Randy Orton for just a quick second too. So on Raw, we saw he got counted out of the Gauntlet match because of an interference by Alexa Bliss on all the monitors, right? There in Raw. So Randy Orton towards Bray Wyatt, that's kind of what we're trending towards here at WrestleMania, right?
Yeah, you've got to think that the Fiend might come back at Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
If I had to pick between then and WrestleMania, I would pick Elimination Chamber because they got to build. You would think they'd want to build that like in person, right? Where the Fiend is tormenting Randy Orton and he's back, and at least that's what I would think. So I think it's very possible that the Fiend makes an appearance in this match. So it's possible that it comes down to McIntyre and Orton, and the Fiend pops up, or Alexa Bliss shows up in the middle of the Elimination Chamber and spooks him or drags him away, and Drew's just standing there like, oh shit, I won. Cool.
Yeah, something with the lights going out. I feel it because you got to find a way to get like maybe the Fiend into the ring or something like that to distract Orton. I feel like that's going to be something to watch out for within this type of matchup. Look out for the Fiend to make an appearance. Last person to touch on here, AJ Styles. Any thoughts on where he's going on this road to WrestleMania?
You've got to put him with hopefully like an up and coming star. We'll get into it a little bit later with the United States Championship match, but say like let's say either Keith Lee. I think Keith Lee is a more likely winner between him and God dang it, his name escapes me.
Is it Riddle? Is that
Matt Riddle.
Yep.
Riddle, yeah. So between Keith Lee or Matt Riddle, one of those guys could win, and I think that's maybe where AJ Styles could go to give them a rub in WrestleMania and have a mid-tier championship kind of in the mix there.
Yep, I do like that for AJ. Got to give him something for WrestleMania for sure. But with this match, I think Drew McIntyre is almost a lock to win this one. I can't see anybody else winning this match. I think you agree here, Steve. Steve's pick, Drew McIntyre to walk away with the WWE Championship out of Elimination Chamber on the road to WrestleMania here. We're going to switch courses here for just a quick second. Match number 2 we have on our card is WWE Raw Women's Champion Asuka taking on a yet-to-be-named opponent after Lacey Evans was found out to be Mega Pregos.
Pregos.
So she is no longer competing in this matchup. We put a couple of potential contenders up here. We've got Alexa Bliss, Charlotte, Natalya. Who do you see Asuka facing here at Elimination Chamber?
Yeah, so we actually had to look this up because we both weren't 100% sure, but like Lacey Evans is legitimately pregnant. So she's not going to be wrestling anymore. So I think a couple of people you have up here, we just kind of randomly selected some potentials. I think after her win over Asuka on Monday Night Raw a couple weeks ago, I think Alexa Bliss has very much a claim to that, especially with the whole, Fiend thing. They want to push her being, the crazy, creepy, strong, kind of, mind transforming sort of wrestler. for everything. So they might push her towards being the champion because then that kind of elevates her some. I don't think that character needs the push for the championship though. Kind of the same thing with the Fiend. I think he's more effective when you stay away from the championship. Just because with that rub with the championship, it's like, why is his motivation the championship? So I don't think her motivation is the championship. I think it's just beating people up. So she's a potential one, but maybe not the most likely.
Okay. I feel like, yeah, that gimmick really quickly is like akin to The Undertaker back in the day. He didn't need the championship to be that dominant character. That was part of his charm, right? Was not having the championship. So, so who do you think could challenge Asuka then here?
I think there's two likely candidates. I think because they dropped the women's tag team championships, I think Charlotte is probably the most likely one to face her. And that's a really good match. And I think they would feel confident with Charlotte going into WrestleMania as the women's champion. Charlotte is a great performer, and they, obviously have used her time and time and again to push the company and to be kind of the head of the women's division, specifically going into WrestleMania a lot of times. The dark horse candidate, I actually think, is Peyton Royce, because Peyton Royce was Lacey Evans' tag team partner. Lacey Evans had, a challenge. So maybe, Peyton Royce comes out and says, hey, my tag team partner's pregnant. She's exciting. That's great. But because we're tag team partners, I should slip into her place. I think if that happens, Asuka wins. If Charlotte gets in, I think Charlotte wins.
Interesting. Okay. Which one do you see as more likely, though, in this pay-per-view?
More likely, I think Charlotte gets into the match and Charlotte wins.
Wow. Okay. Taking Charlotte then. We got to talk about, so Bianca Belair won the Women's Royal Rumble. Do you think she will play a factor here at all with any of these?
No, I don't think she does, just because they're going to save her and her challenge for WrestleMania. So I don't think she comes after Asuka. She might, I think if Charlotte wins, she might come out at the end of Elimination Chamber and say, hey, Charlotte, I want to fight you for the women's championship at WrestleMania. I think that could happen. But in this particular match, I don't think she gets involved.
Okay. And then, so last question on this match, do you think Charlotte or Asuka would be a better fit for Bianca Belair at WrestleMania?
I think Charlotte, just because athletically what they could do in terms of a match. Asuka's very, strike based, very ground and pound, very, she overwhelms her opponents with those kind of things. And I just don't think that storyline wise, I don't think that happens with Bianca Belair, because Bianca Belair is one of the strongest women in the division, short of either Charlotte or Rhea Ripley, really, in terms of just pure athleticism, strength, just overall combination. Like, I think someone like a Shayna Baszler or Nia Jax is technically stronger, but
it's not a better fit, I would think.
Right.
I think Charlotte is a more marquee matchup if it's for a championship for Bianca Belair. So yeah, I love that. So Charlotte over Asuka if it's Charlotte, Asuka over Peyton Royce if it's Peyton Royce.
Right.
Perfect. I'm not going to throw a pick up there. We'll see what happens here because we honestly don't know. That's what we're here for, right? We're here to speculate. We're here to see what's going to happen
Anything
a couple days from now.
At any time. Right?
Yeah, well, I mean, who knows? Maybe like Molly Holly comes back. I have no idea. You know what I mean? Like just some random person.
Maybe you get like a Trish Stratus return or something stupid like
that.
Yeah. No.
Lita's like, I'd like to be in this pay-per-view. Why not? Like, yeah. So we're going to leave Steve's pick blank for now because we're not sure, but those are two fantastic options. And let's move forward to a triple threat match for the United States Championship. Current champion Bobby Lashley is taking on Keith Lee and Matt Riddle. Who are you going with here, Steve? What's going to happen here?
So this one I thought about long and hard, and I think there's two very distinct things that could happen here. Sort of kind of what we talked about earlier. We might have one of the young up and coming guys win, and then maybe go into a program with AJ Styles, get that rub from the veteran. And I think that feeds directly in from Cedric Alexander's kind of turmoil within, the Hurt business. There's been some teasing about him and maybe, getting frustrated with the group, him and Shelton Benjamin, or moving on, or something like that. So I think that could play a factor, which leads to either Keith Lee or Riddle winning, or you just come out and you have a really great triple threat match, but then Bobby Lashley retains. So I think those are kind of the two options. I'm thinking that the more likely option is the whole Hurt business starts to fall apart. Because, in the United States Championship, it's something for more up and coming people. I know putting it on Bobby Lashley kind of makes it more established. But I think throwing it on one of the two other guys would be a better idea. Especially going into WrestleMania, it would kind of get them on the card, give them something to do. So I think what happens, the Hurt business costs Bobby Lashley the championship, and I think Keith Lee wins.
Keith Lee. So does that put him, going back to the first match, does that put him in a program with AJ Styles then, you think, to give Styles something to do here?
I think that would be a good idea, especially with his big bodyguard dude. You get somebody like, you get somebody with like Keith Lee. Because Keith Lee wasn't in the Rumble. He pulled somebody else out. Oh, it was Big E. That's what it was.
Yep.
So, Keith Lee's that guy who could be that equalizer versus, his big bodyguard and get that rub from AJ Styles.
Okay. So then Riddle, speaking of the Rumble, Riddle had a really good run in the Rumble. He was in there for a long time, right? Where do you see him going then, if anywhere, if he loses this matchup?
If Riddle doesn't win, I could see him in maybe like a ladder match for, the Intercontinental Championship or something like that.
Something like an 8-man ladder match at WrestleMania to, bring that flair essentially for a championship match.
Or they just throw him in like the Andre the Giant Battle Royale or some dumb shit like that.
Yep, he might be destined for that if he doesn't win here, I feel like. That's kind of the place where WrestleMania... They want to get everybody on the card for WrestleMania, of course, but like...
Right.
You can't have a match for everybody, so here's a Battle Royal for all y'all. Have fun with that.
Here's, a spot for 20 of you to go out there and wrestle and do some stuff.
Yep.
So I think if he doesn't win here... and he's not put in any sort of like you said, 8-man ladder match for a title or number one contendership. I think he gets put into the Andre the Battle Royal Rumble, and I think he might win it at that point.
Ooh, okay, that would be fun. That'd be really fun, I think, for him. Give him a little push there, but we're gonna roll with Keith Lee taking the United States Championship away from Bobby Lashley here. Okay.
Yeah, big on Keith Lee. Love Keith Lee. That guy's a monster. That guy's an absolute beast.
And he may be U.S. champ here after a couple days.
I would love to see it. This may be wishful thinking. Like I said, it very likely could just be Bobby Lashley wins, but I would like to see Keith Lee win.
Excellent. Taking Keith Lee, then we will roll forward to our second Elimination Chamber match. This one for a shot at the Universal Championship later that night. I have a feeling this match may lead off the card. I'm not quite sure. Like we had the WWE Championship lead off the Royal Rumble here. This one could be to give time for, them to relax backstage and whatnot until the match starts. But we've got 6 superstars battling in the Elimination Chamber to face Roman Reigns on Sunday evening. We got Cesaro, Daniel Bryan, Jey Uso. Interesting plot twist here. Kevin Owens, King Corbin, and Sami Zayn. How do you see this one going, Cousin Steve?
This one, I know it's not as clear cut as a lot of the other matches. I think they could pull a lot of stuff. You could maybe give like a Jey Uso a win, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna prove to the head of the table that I am the head of the table, and then he's like, well, I figured I won that way. If I do beat you, then it's still in the family. And then he gets destroyed by Roman Reigns. You could see a Kevin Owens storyline continuing here, where he wins and challenges, Roman Reigns again. Which that was a good program at the Royal Rumble. I thought he had it won, and then Roman pulled the ref down when he was handcuffed.
I still think my favorite spot from that match was definitely the golf cart spot.
Oh god, yeah, he came out of nowhere. That was hilarious. It's like beep beep.
Boom!
Yeah. I think guys like King Corbin and Sami Zayn, obviously they're heels. They're kind of mid card guys right now. I just don't think they get that rub. I don't think they get the jump up, that jump up the card. So really the four that could win are the three faces. So Cesaro, DB, Kevin Owens, and I could see a storyline with Jey Uso winning, or maybe like, Jimmy returns, helps him out, tries to talk him into beating up Roman Reigns, saying we can do this together. He doesn't have control of you. So that's something that could happen. I don't think it will happen, but it's something that could happen.
Okay, that's a keep it in the family one. So we got Corbin and Zayn out. Give me your final two for this matchup.
So I think it comes down to tag team partners. I think it comes down to Cesaro and Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
I think you have two faces at the end of this match, and you're going to get a "this is awesome" chant. You're not going to. I think they're going to throw that in there and be like, okay, hey, which one of these guys is going to win? Because realistically, either one could.
Sure.
Either one could and go on to face Roman Reigns and have a great match. So I think they're the final two. And surprisingly, really it's based off the fact that he had a really good promo, very, heartfelt promo on Talking Smack. He kind of low-key got in a program with Seth Rollins and is getting a little more exposure. But I think Cesaro wins.
Cesaro, okay. Taking Cesaro over Daniel Bryan. We did see Daniel Bryan, a couple years ago at WrestleMania, had the gauntlet match. What was it? Batista and Triple H, I believe, in a triple threat. And then he went on to, oh gosh, where's my brain at? I already forgot in the last match. No, he beat Triple H.
He beat Triple H to get into the triple threat match for the championship. Yeah.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So he's back.
And that's the thing is, I don't trust WWE to push or put Daniel Bryan in the championship picture at all. I think Daniel Bryan would be a great choice. I think him and Roman Reigns have a great match, and you could play into that in terms of, that whole storyline and timeline. And again, like we talked about before, wrestling storylines are best when they're organic and they just kind of fall into place. So they could, that whole, WWE pushed Roman Reigns, we wanted Daniel Bryan, that could easily play into itself. But I just don't trust WWE to do that with Daniel Bryan as a face at this point. So I think it's got to be Cesaro.
Sure. So you're taking Cesaro then. So we'll just touch quickly on KO then. After that, really, I thought it was a fantastic match until the last 2 minutes at the Royal Rumble. The whole handcuff thing, I hate handcuffs as a prop in wrestling. I think it kind of ruins the match a little bit, slows it down. When you had them fighting backstage for what seemed like 15 minutes, and the spots were fantastic in that match, I will say. Yeah. I think they were all great. And the match is then decided off, handcuffs, and then Paul Heyman can't get the handcuffs off, and it just
that was super awkward. Like if they would have done it quickly, because you could see the ref was like, he didn't know what to do. He was like, because he was still down technically, but he had to sit there and like, what? Do I start counting?
And he looked around. Awkward. Yeah. They actually cut to the ref because the cameraman didn't want to look at Paul Heyman not being able to get handcuffs off for 30 seconds.
Right.
So I thought it was a fantastic match, though. What's next for KO then? Should he not win here?
That's a tough one. You might see him get put into maybe like a tag team. Maybe him and Sami Zayn have a thing in this match. So maybe he gets put into the Intercontinental Championship kind of picture with Zayn and Big E. So I think that's something that is probably most likely for Kevin Owens.
You took the thought right on my head. They had a program that was really good, I thought. KO and Zayn did. It's probably still there. They were best friends. I'm sure they obviously still are in real life, right? But they were best friends. They can still play off that angle. I think that could still be there. And if Zayn and KO come to, butt heads in this match, yeah, I think that could lead to a KO program for the Intercontinental Championship. I think that'd be a great playoff of this match then. I do think.
Yeah. These kind of matches are nice. Like the Royal Rumble, these big, sort of, multi-man matches are nice because you can develop storylines inside of these matches.
Mhm.
You can have, kind of microchasms of storylines and rivalries inside of these kind of matches that make it interesting.
Yep. You accidentally eliminated me. You accidentally kicked me when I was aiming for somebody else. We were supposed to be friends, and you drop kicked me. Like, yeah, it's very small stuff, and this match could end up building to them just punching the hell out of each other for 10 seconds, and we'll go from there.
Right.
And that could birth the Intercontinental Championship match for KO. Like to see that, but Steve, taking Cesaro, do you think that's a surprise pick?
A little bit, just because Cesaro, like, he's one of those guys who's always consistent, who's always great, who always puts on great matches. He's sort of the, internet wrestling community's sort of love child, right? So it's one of those things where it's just like you want him to do well, and you think he's about to get there, and then it doesn't happen.
Yep.
So it's a tricky pick. It's an interesting pick that could totally blow up in my face, but I think with everything else that's going on and the other selections, like I said, I just don't trust WWE with Daniel Bryan. It's got to be Cesaro.
Yep. I love your last two picks. I can't see Uso or Corbin winning. KO and Zayn can go off. Perfect. We're going to take Cesaro. And last match that's been announced, guys, we're only going to touch on matches that have been announced here. Of course, now it's Universal Championship time. We got Roman Reigns, obviously, with Paul Heyman, who can't undo handcuffs, apparently. Taking on your pick from the Elimination Chamber, Cesaro. Who do you got? How do you see this match going?
I think they have a great match. I think, like you said, I think the SmackDown Elimination Chamber is first to give that person the rest of the night to kind of rest, and then you end the show with this. And I think if it's Cesaro, I think it's a great match. I think it's a physical match. I think it's a hard-fought match. But then I just think that from being in the Elimination Chamber earlier, that takes its toll. Either Cesaro hurts his ribs or hurts an ankle, and Roman Reigns plays into that, and it's just too much to overcome. And I think Roman Reigns wins.
I love that. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to come out with bandages around his ribs. We've seen it from Cesaro before. He's a bandage around the ribs guy. That's kind of his secondary, that's his gimmick essentially for Cesaro.
I'm hurt, but I'm tough guy.
Yeah, I think the issue too, I think Cesaro is fantastic for this match because I think he has the ability to keep the pace up with Roman, and that's kind of Roman's thing, is he's a very methodical kind of wrestler. With Cesaro, the pace might be quickened, but if he's injured, I think it's going to play, unfortunately, into a very obvious Roman Reigns victory here.
Yeah. I think you have to keep the Royal Rumble in the back of your mind. You have to keep Edge in the back of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Edge challenging Drew McIntyre makes sense. So he's got to go after Roman Reigns. I don't think he goes NXT either because there's a whole storyline going on with Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era and Kyle O'Reilly down there. So that's playing itself out. I don't think he challenges Edge. So the only real logical answer is to stick him with Roman Reigns.
Especially with a face the level of Edge.
Right.
Versus a heel the level of Reigns. I think that's the marquee matchup you're looking for the Universal Championship here. I don't think there's no doubt that Roman Reigns doesn't walk away with the Universal Championship after this pay-per-view.
Yeah. I don't know. I tell you, I'm more excited not necessarily for the wrestling match between Edge and Roman Reigns, but just the program, like the shit talking that Roman Reigns is going to do to Edge. That's what I'm excited for. Yeah. I actually, early on, I was not a big Roman Reigns fan. He was, John Cena light. He was the 5 moves of doom. Mm-hmm. But I think this time away from wrestling, because of his immunocompromisation and the whole COVID crisis and everything, coming back, being the head of the table, being the tribal chief, that's a super interesting character. And that's someone that I love to watch every week. Love to watch what he says. Love to watch the matches that he has, because he is a great wrestler. Roman Reigns is a very good wrestler. He puts on, get him with the right guy, he puts on great matches. So I'm excited for not necessarily the wrestling match, just because I was never a big Edge fan. That was like the one lull in kind of watching wrestling was when he was like the WWE champion a lot was when I didn't really watch it a whole lot. So I'm not a huge Edge fan, but I respect what he's done. Love the Royal Rumble matches he's been in lately. The world's greatest wrestling match he had with Randy Orton was really good. So I think the match will be good, but I'm just excited for the program between those two.
Yep, and I could see an added layer here, Steve, where we saw Christian come back at the Royal Rumble. Christian comes back, he's like, "Hey Edge, nice job, man." And out of nowhere, here comes Roman Reigns to beat the shit out of Christian. That's how you could ramp that up a little bit, right? You get Edge a little bit more emotionally invested in a match against Roman Reigns. The shit talking escalates from there. And I think you got a 2-minute promo leading into this match for WrestleMania if it's Edge versus Roman Reigns. So,
yeah, I think with that, that's a really good point. I actually didn't really think about that, but I think that's Roman Reigns is big about family, being head of the table, blah blah blah. He's just like, oh, this is your bro, this is your family. I'm gonna show you what it's like when you hurt my family. And I could see Jey Uso getting beat up by Edge, and then Christian getting beat up by Roman Reigns, and you could drag the whole family angle into it. Maybe they drag out Gangrel again, and Roman Reigns beats the shit out of Gangrel. You never know.
Yep. And I think the sky's the limit there with that kind of promo. I love that. But we got Roman Reigns walking away, I think, very clearly the Universal Champion. No matter who it is, honestly, if it's Daniel Bryan, Jey Uso, I don't think it matters here. I think it's going to be Roman Reigns. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think whoever it is, even if it could be Jey Uso, it could be Kevin Owens again, it could be DB, it could be a Cesaro. Like I said, we don't think that King Corbin or Sami Zayn really much of a shot. It could be any of those guys, and I think it's very, very clear that Roman Reigns is going to walk away. There could be some shenanigery with the SmackDown, GM and trying to pull one over on Roman Reigns, saying like, no, you're the 7th guy in the Universal Championship, or you have to fight in a steel cage or one hand tied behind your back or something like that. Try to give, the winner of the Elimination Chamber at least somewhat of less of a disadvantage. But I think it's clear that Roman Reigns wins.
Totally agree here. So any final thoughts then, Steve? We don't have any other matches that have been announced. Final thoughts on this pay-per-view. Any other thing you think could happen? Anything like that?
I think you could see maybe SmackDown Women's Championship. Maybe more Bayley and Sasha Banks, or it could be just another random person that gets in there. Maybe they just have like a number 1 contenders match to get that championship on the card. There's or you could maybe see like a women's tag team championship pre-show match. But even if that happens, I think Shayna and Nia retain.
Agreed. Yep.
Also, shout out to Nia Jax's butthole. Did you see that? Hear about that?
I think I missed that.
Where she was wrestling Lana and she like went to do a leg drop on the apron and Lana moved and literally Nia Jax was like, my butt, my hole, and you just heard her scream it and it was the funniest shit. Look that up.
My butthole.
Add it at the end of this video is what you should do. It's my hole. Her just screaming.
Well, that's all steel reinforcement out there, Tom. Oh, Lana's still got to find a way to get Jax through the table.
Man, that will do it for Elimination Chamber 2021. Steve coming to you off the top rope, bringing that SmackDown, dropping the elbow on your candy ass. We hope to see you guys here in the next video. Yeah. See you guys later.
See you guys.